Hey, what's up, Street Talks? The Eric from the Eric Street Photography blog. So I just wanted to make a quick video with you on some ideas that I've been having. So the first one is this: why hate? So the interesting thing is, I think, honestly speaking, nobody likes being hated on. No one likes to be judged, no one likes to be criticized, and certainly no one likes to be hated on. So the question is, should we ever hate other people? I know for myself, I hate it when people complain. I don't like it when people hate or overly judge or criticize. And so I think I've kind of made a new pact for myself, is that moving forward, I'm not going to hate, judge, criticize, critique other people. Rather, what I'll do is I'll either ignore them, let them do their thing, and just be focused on myself. Now, I think this is actually interesting because, generally speaking, in modern society, whenever we say someone is selfish or self-centered, we actually mean to say that they're evil. And I would actually say that probably, in terms of thinking about morals and ethics, perhaps being selfish and self-centered could actually be the most robust form of morality and ethics, because if you are truly self-centered and self-focused and you kind of ignore everyone else, then what it means is that you just kind of tend to leave other people alone, and there's actually going to be no reason for you to really hate on other people, because you don't really care what other people are doing, and therefore there's going to be less judginess involved. And I would even say, this is the funny thing, there's a lot of things obviously I don't like in the world, but I mean, like even what my mama said, right, is if you have nothing nice to say about other people, just don't say it. This is also another moral, ethical thing too, is if in fact you plan on talking smack or shit about somebody behind their back, say it behind their back as if you were to say it to their face. And I think this is actually a more genuine way of interacting with other people in the world, because I think bad-mouthing people behind their back, I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing in itself, but I think we should always have the courage or the responsibility of, like, either someone overhearing us say something, rumors fly, or once again, say things behind people's back as if you're going to say it to their face. And going back to the notion of hate, I think hate also comes from the misguided notion of two things generally. One, we generally tend to hate on other people when we feel inferior to them. So if we see somebody who is richer than us, more famous than us, who, I don't know, has a bigger butt than us, oftentimes we feel like they're cheating and they somehow got this form of success in a non-legitimate way, and they somehow cheated. But even, this is the truth, there's tons of cheaters in the world, but why does that even concern you? And I think the only reason why it concerns people if other people are cheating, because they feel like if they're in the shoes of the other person, they're like, so for example, let's say you see someone else succeeding and let's say you perceive that they're cheating, you'll feel upset because you think to yourself, wow, I'm as smart as that person, I work as hard, and I'm not as successful or rich or whatever as that person, therefore I want to try to tear down that person and delegitimize them to make myself feel better. So this is actually a big problem, because that means that your own self-esteem, your own self-ego is predicated on how you compare yourself to other people. So once again, if you see somebody who you perceive to be cheating or doing something illegitimate be more successful than you, and you're as smart or handsome or talented as they are, then what you try to do is you try to tear them down and bring them down to your level so you feel better about yourself. And hopefully you want to take their level even below you so you feel higher than them. But the thing is, actually, what you should do is, I mean, if you really want to use envy or jealousy as something to propel you forward, I think this is actually what Voltaire did, is that he was very envious of some other dude. But anyways, what you should do actually is, if you see somebody doing something that you don't approve of, you yourself work hard and hustle to get even higher than them, and your feeling of superiority over them will happen out of your own accord rather than trying to tear some other people down. So I would actually say that's probably been the most important thing to my personal success, is that honestly in photography and blogging and YouTube, I almost never look at the work of other people. I don't really look at other people's blogs. I mean, the only blogs I really care about is my buddy Josh White, jtandsoul.wordpress.com, my buddy Bellamy Hunt, Japan Camera Hunter, and even with YouTube videos, I don't really watch YouTube videos except maybe like freestyle rapping videos, and also Kai Man Wong's videos are a bit of fun. But for the most part, I think it's important for you to creatively isolate yourself from other people, because this will prevent yourself from getting envious or jealous or petty with other people. And unfortunately, because we tend to compare each other with numbers, like, you know, he has more subscribers than me or views than me, therefore I feel diminished. And even for myself, like, I know, like, compared to all these other YouTubers, I have so fewer views, likes, subscribers, blah 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 blah. But the reason I don't really care or mind is that, I mean, I don't make money off YouTube. I don't put advertisements on my videos, so that's not really contingent on that. And for me, my own self-esteem, my own self-ego comes from my own self-judgment, my own self-assessment of self, not from comparing myself to other people. So that's the first part of hating on other people. The second part of hating is, I think it stems from intolerance, is that I don't think there's a universal ethical rule or morality that applies to anyone and everyone at all matters of times for all purposes. Rather, I think there are personal truths which are unique to all of us, but we shouldn't try to superimpose our personal truths onto other people, and therefore we should be tolerant towards the beliefs and ideas of other people, unless those other people are out killing other people, or if they're insanely intolerant, then we should be, in the words of Nassim Taleb, maximally intolerant towards other intolerant people. That means if you have a skinhead outside killing people, you should, you know, obviously, first of all, put him to prison. I would personally probably give him the death sentence. I mean, eye for an eye, right? But on top of that, I think we should just be more tolerant in society. And let me transition to another point. So I grew up in America, and I remember when I was a kid, we talked a lot about this notion of tolerance, that we should be tolerant to each other, and I think it was a very good notion. But as of recently, the word tolerance, or the notion tolerance, has been replaced with this notion of equality. Now, for the most part, it sounds good, like, you know, racial equality, sexual equality, stuff like that. But the problem of equality, I mean, rather than equality, I prefer like maybe like equal access or equal opportunity, because with equality, what we're trying to do is we're trying to take all the outliers of society and streamline everyone to make everyone equal across the board. And I don't think a society which is equal is actually a good society. I think there needs to be inequality in society in order for the whole thing to function well, and also in order for us to have more freedom. And so a lot of us generally tend to not be tolerant towards the beliefs of others, because we think to others like, wow. So this is usually the rationale or the logic. I am the ultimate arbiter of truth, and I discovered what works well for myself, and other people are like me, thus I should inform or educate them that they're stupid and wrong, and that I'm the ultimate right person, and anyone who thinks contrary to what I believe in is a moron and should not be tolerated. But obviously this is not a good thing, because the reason why religion's generally a good thing is that everyone's allowed to be tolerant towards each other and other people's beliefs, at least here in America. And even this is one thing I really liked about being in Beirut or Lebanon, is that there was lots of tolerance between people who practice Islam and the Christians for the most part. I mean, besides some of the bloody civil wars. But I generally do think that a society, the internet, the world, that's more cemented on tolerance would be a good one, because with tolerance, you just kind of leave people alone. If they're doing something that's not really hurting anyone else, if you want to, you know, practice Scientology or whatever, and you're not like killing nobody or whatever, it's like, dude, you do your own thing. Like, if I want to practice my Catholic values, and obviously I'm not hurting anyone else, let me do my thing. And I think this kind of comes into a little bit of this notion of libertarianism. I think Nassim Taleb, he calls it deontic libertarianism. Libertarianism, like, minimal government intervention, which is kind of based on duties, that we're still like good citizens and helping each other out. But for the most part, society and the government isn't just trying to force everyone to be equal. And once again, I think the notion of tolerance we should start to push this notion of tolerance even further. So for example, even in photography, so let me give an example. One thing I personally don't really like to see in photography is when people add too much HDR to their photographs. So to me, it looks aesthetically ugly. But if someone else does it and they love it, who am I to say otherwise? So I should be tolerant to the fact that they love their HDR. I'm like, okay, you know, you like vanilla ice cream, I like chocolate ice cream. Because you like vanilla ice cream doesn't mean you're an idiot, and because I like chocolate ice cream doesn't make me an idiot. Unless you like mint ice cream, then you're really an idiot. I'm just kidding. But we should learn how to essentially at least be tolerant to each other, and actually at least be friendly and cordial to each other. And I think this is the problem with intolerance, is that a lot of small-minded people have a hard time understanding that what's good for themselves isn't necessarily what's good for other people. So like, let me give you an example. When I was in college, I was really into working out, and you know, like this skinny Asian kid who wants to get buff because all these kids tease me, whatever. And I read this thing on the internet called GOMAD, gallon of milk a day, which is like, go to the gym, do squats, and drink a gallon of milk a day. Sounds great, right? But the author of that was probably a white dude who could probably drink a gallon of milk a day with no issues. But unfortunately, a lot of people in the world, including like 99% Asian people, are lactose intolerant, which means, you know, that Northern European descent guy might be able to drink a gallon of milk a day, but an Asian guy like me cannot, because I'm lactose intolerant. So you start to see, right? A lot of people put forth ideas or concepts or notions which are good for them, works for them, but there should always be some sort of disclaimer that it's not going to work for everybody. And even everything I share in my videos, my books, my blog posts, stuff like that, obviously I have an opinion that I'm trying to assert and share, and I think I have good ideas, and I share these ideas because I think they could somehow be of some sort of benefit or utility to you. But of course, I'm only speaking from my own personal experience. What works for me isn't necessarily going to work for you, but it might work for you. Who knows, right? But I don't want to give the impression that, you know, I'm the ultimate arbiter of knowledge and wisdom, because I think ultimately all knowledge, wisdom is all subjective. I think what our goal in life should be is trying to seek our own personal truths, how to best empower ourselves, and then for us to create a small community or tribe of other people who are like-minded to us, and that we could continue to empower each other and hopefully help the future generations of humanity, you know, go to Mars or Elon Musk it, right? And so just kind of think to yourself, what are some things that in your life that you hate and you kind of disagree with? And kind of ask yourself, is there any practical utility of me just complaining about it or criticizing it? Am I actually going to make a difference? And I think this is like maybe a way we should barbell it in life, is that either you go out and you become, you know, the nonprofit worker who devotes your life to battling some sort of social injustice, or you just don't say anything at all. Because a lot of us tend to be here in the middle, like we complain on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter about issues, but we're actually not here on the ground making changes. So I think for the most part, either don't say anything or do anything else, or go all out, or just kind of keep to yourself. And I think this notion is kind of interesting, is that like in life, there's only so many fucks we could give, right? So cherry pick a few things in life that you really, really care about. And for those things, give massive fudge ice cream popsicles for. Or for the few things in your life you really care about, focus on those things to make a positive difference in those things. Because you can't change everything in the universe, right? And for the things that don't really matter to you, or things which don't really pertain to you, just ignore it. This is why I never really talk about politics or stuff like that. Because honestly, me complaining about Trump isn't really going to do anything. It's either I'm going to be like some sort of grassroots social worker, or I should just keep my opinions to myself, right? So I think, yeah, moving forward, let's, just some things for us to think about this year, right? Think about ways we could be more tolerant towards other people. And this is also a practical tip, is, I think 99.9% of fights or conflict between people is just miscommunication. Generally, other people don't know what they think or what they want, and generally we don't know what we think we want. And certainly when we're talking to each other, we're using the same words, but we're thinking about different words, right? So I think what this means is when we're interacting with other people, better than judging people and criticizing them, better to ask them more questions. So for example, if Cindy or somebody says something that like, pissed me off, right, or made me feel upset or angry, rather than just start yelling at that person, accusing them, maybe it might be best for you to say, oh, what did you, when you said that thing, what did you mean? And then that person, it gives that person a chance to explain themselves. And then let's say their response still upsets you, dig a little deeper and say, okay, you said that thing. Why did you say that? And what did you really mean to say that? And then, so you just keep asking them the question. And sometimes people realize that they fall into some sort of logical fallacy when they say things, or a lot of people talk without really thinking. That's one thing. Or you might realize that someone was saying something totally innocuous, like harmless. They didn't actually mean to hurt you, but you, in your mind, you interpret it as something bad. So once again, the form of better communication is just ask people more questions. Like, so for example, if I'm a liberal and you're a conservative, and let's say we're having a political discussion about immigration or something, right? I think both parties, rather than telling the other party why they're wrong, we should just be striving towards understanding the opinions of other people, because we actually might learn something from them and they might learn something from us. And who knows, maybe we might be speaking the same thing, but we don't really know. And I think that having more of this kind of cooperation, mutual understanding could actually help advance society in some sort of wise and knowledgeful way, right? Yeah, so before you say anything bad or negative or criticizing, imagine like you're to say in someone else's face. The second thing is, when you hate on somebody or criticize somebody, why are you actually doing it? And what kind of practical effect are you trying to make through it? The third thing is, generally, I think for the most part, hating on other things or people and criticizing other people, it's kind of a waste of mental energy. So it's just not even worth your human metabolism. And the last thing is, yeah, let us seek to become more tolerant of other people by asking people more questions, trying to understand themselves more. And yeah, together, I think tolerance, love can change the world. So yeah, maybe a question I have for you is, what does tolerance mean to you? How does tolerance relate to equality? What do you think causes a lot of human conflict? If you have any ideas, thoughts, or comments, leave a comment down below. And yeah, share your wisdom, share your thoughts, and use this opportunity to distill your thinking. So once again, let's not forget, generally speaking, love is the answer. Peace out.